welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure to be in this fantastic house of UNESCO to start the Software Age Symposium. I'm very honored to be here on the stage together with Mr. Tawfik Jelassi, who is a Joint Director General of UNESCO, and Mr. Bruno Sportisse, who is a CEO of Inria. So I'm just here to facilitate things, so I will leave the floor to Mr. Jelassi.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Ladies and gentlemen, good colleagues, good afternoon to all of you. I'm especially happy to welcome you to UNESCO this afternoon for this important 2015 Software Heritage Annual Symposium. For me, this is not the usual audience when I sit here on stage. Typically, I have the ambassadors of 194 countries. Well, so you are much more friendly audience, and I especially welcome you for that. Because you may not know it, but my background is computer science. And I was chatting with a few of you last evening, and we talked about programming languages, and he mentioned some assembly languages. I said, I dare to confess that I started programming in binary, zeros and ones. And when the system says, or when the computer says, the program failed, fix whatever error, good luck to find the error in a series of zeros and ones. When you have 3,815 key punch cards in your program. So I'm sure this rings a bell to some, not all, not to the younger generation, but I dare to say I was taught how to program in the computer language, the binary system. There is light or no light. There is a hole on the key punch card or there is no hole. But now let me read the official speech written by my team. So first of all, I would like to extend special thanks to Professor Roberto Di Cosmo, who is, as you know, the founder and director of the Software Heritage Initiative, but also to Dr. Bruno Sportisse, the Chief Executive Officer of Inria. We just find out that we have something in common, l'École Nationale des Ponts et Chaussées, where he was director of one of the research laboratories there. And in my previous life, I was professor at École des Ponts and also dean of the MBA program there. And here we are together to celebrate software heritage. I would like also to thank Mr. Stefano Zacchiroli, who is the co-founder of this initiative. Can you stand up so we can recognize you, please? Excellent. So your leadership, all three of you, in partnership with UNESCO and more specifically, the UNESCO Memory of the World Program. Your leadership has made the Software Heritage Initiative a global leader in preserving software source code as part of our shared cultural and intellectual history. I also would like to thank Huawei Corporation for its generous support, which has been crucial in advancing this important project. Today, we are here to celebrate a decade of remarkable progress. You know that all started back in 2015. And since that time, software heritage has demonstrated the vital role of source code preservation in safeguarding the digital fabric of our world. The meeting today will focus on 4 key themes which definitely will shape the future. Theme number 1, cybersecurity and regulation. Indeed, robust software preservation and traceability are essential for navigating the challenges of cybersecurity, but also for fostering innovation in an era of increased regulation worldwide. Second key theme, openness and AI transparency. I think we all agree that transparency is the cornerstone of ethical artificial intelligence. You are in the house that back in 2018, UNESCO decided to embark on open global consultations that have culminated 3 years ago or 4 years ago in 2021 with the landmark UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence. The work started some 4 good years before ChatGPT and before generative AI. So today we talk about responsible ethical AI. Those who are interested in the topic and who may not be aware of it, you may want to look up on our website the UNESCO 2021 recommendation on the ethics of AI, which was approved by 194 countries. Today, it's being implemented in 60 countries around the world. The third key theme is open science. We certainly need to delve into open science practices to foster collaboration, to accelerate discovery, and to promote scientific endeavors worldwide. This is another piece of work that UNESCO has done also in 2021, the UNESCO recommendation on open science. So again, another key reference that we hope is impacting the work in democratizing access to knowledge. That's what open science obviously is about. Fourth theme and last, cultural preservation and education. Again, you are in the house within the United Nations, which has the primary responsibility of education worldwide. That's the name of UNESCO. Education, science, culture, but also information and communication. Clearly, software is a unique cultural artifact, and recognizing the contributions of all creators, including women and minorities, is essential to fully understand the narrative of digital innovation. Software, we all know, has become an integral part of our daily life. Whether we think about it or we take it for granted, nothing functions today in our daily life without software being embedded or integrated in it. This makes it essential that the knowledge and skills to develop, maintain, and preserve software are passed on to future generations. The partnership between UNESCO and Software Heritage champions universal access to knowledge, promotes cultural diversity, and enhances digital literacy. We are here today to affirm the importance of preserving software as a collective memory in alignment with the UNESCO mission to foster inclusive, knowledge-based digital societies. Having said this, we all recognize that there are many challenges ahead of us, and these are quite great challenges. Since 2020, Software Heritage has archived over 343 million projects and 22 billion unique source files. This is extraordinary, and this is a remarkable achievement that we need to celebrate. However, the pace of digital creation outstrips our shared preservation efforts. Additionally, free and open source software, which comprises today 70 to 90% of modern software, this requires urgent and sustained attention by all of us. This is why I call this a call to action. A recent survey in Canada found that only 17% of libraries, archives, and museums had formal digital preservation strategies, often due to limited resources. We must address these gaps to secure digital heritage. One shining example of this work is the preservation of Inria legacy software. Collaboration efforts with the researchers and alumni of Inria identified and archived historically significant software showcasing the power of partnership in safeguarding digital milestones. In addition, as part of the UNESCO Memory of the World Programme, Inria has worked towards inclusive efforts in the research and documentation of heritage, including initiatives to integrate gender equality in its approaches. Ladies and gentlemen, preserving software is more than technology. It's about equity, it's about inclusion, it's about representation. The history of software is rich with contributions from voices, many of which come from underrepresented communities whose stories are often overlooked. By preserving these narratives, we honor the ingenuity of those who have shaped our digital world, and this inclusivity enriches our collective heritage and ensures serving as a resource for everyone, regardless of gender, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of background. A recent global developer survey revealed that 75% of the developers are men, underscoring the historical trend of male dominance of the tech industry. I would like here to recognize the invaluable role of women software developers in shaping our field. Let's continue to engage and support women in this vital work. The Software Heritage Initiative exemplifies UNESCO commitment to fostering open knowledge, advancing education, and safeguarding cultural heritage. Our Director General at UNESCO, Madame Audrey Azoulay, has aptly said, digital heritage is not just about preserving our past, it is about ensuring our future. As we look ahead, let's reaffirm our commitment to this shared mission, to this shared purpose. Let this symposium not only celebrate our achievements, but inspire bold actions to preserve our digital legacy, foster international cooperation, and build a sustainable digital future for all. Let me now declare the 2025 Software Heritage Symposium open. Thank you.
So, dear Assistant Director General, dear Tawfik Jelassi, dear Roberto, dear Professor Roberto Di Cosmo, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, it's really my great pleasure to be there at UNESCO and to take part in this introduction of this Software Heritage Symposium. You have said all I wanted to say, so I can finish my talk. Okay, thanks for that. It's also a pleasure to meet a lot of friends, a lot of people I have already met in the previous years. So it's also a pleasure. Thanks to UNESCO to give this opportunity as well. It's not the first time we have such an event, of course, but I guess that this year this is a very specific event because, as you know, this is a side event of the coming AI Action Summit that will start next week in Paris. And a lot of issues that will be addressed during this event, during this summit, are not so far from the issues related to software heritage. And this is what you have underlined, dear Tawfik. And in these times of AI-driven acceleration, so to speak, I think that this is very important to have long-term policies, to have long-term projects. And for sure, software heritage is, of course, such a long-term project. And this is a long-term project, but this is also a scientific and a technological challenge, because the ambition of harvesting all the open source code, all the available open source code worldwide. I guess that this leads to difficult problems, right, Roberto? The size of the resulting archive is extraordinary. This is a word that you have used as well. With its graph of, I don't know the exact number, to be honest, billions of nodes, hundreds of billions of edges, right, Roberto? Okay, so obviously there are some scaling problems, and being able to achieve efficient queries for such a tree, this is also a research topic in itself. Okay, so this is not only a long-term project, but this is also this is still a scientific and technological challenge. And I first want to thank all the community. I first want to thank all the team, the whole team. Also Roberto, also Stefano, for their long-term commitment in such a project, in, let's say, such a venture. Because I think that is a venture. And software heritage, and you have said that, dear Tawfik, underlines how software is really the key component of our digital society. My institute, Inria, the French National Research Institute for Digital Science and Technology, has the culture of software. Software is at the core of our DNA, both as a technology, but also as a field for research, and also probably as a cultural artifact, probably also. And we have always supported pioneering projects in this field, ambitious projects at scale, with the ambition of having a worldwide outreach, a worldwide footprint. And for instance, during the last decades, in the 90s, this has led to the support of Jean-François, you are in front of me, of the start of the World Wide Web Consortium of W3C. And okay, in the history of Inria, we have always been able to support such ambitious projects. And I think that software heritage belongs to this portfolio of highly ambitious and pioneering projects. Openness, this is also a word that you have used, is also at the core of the DNA of Inria. And then this is quite logical that a pioneering project, a software project with major scientific and technological issues, with a key focus on openness, so a project like Software Heritage has been supported by Inria from the starting point. And the starting point was in 2015, under the dual impulse of Roberto Di Cosmo and Stefano Zacchiroli. And in 2017, UNESCO and Inria have signed an agreement in order to establish a collaborative framework with a focus on the preservation of source codes. So Software Heritage, the great library of source code. And we have signed the renewal of this agreement in 2021. And now the project is hosted both at the Inria Foundation as an hosted foundation dedicated to software heritage, and also by Inria as an Inria project. And this is really a great source of pride for Inria to see the maturity of this visionary project today. And the program of the Symposium illustrates the importance of software heritage as a key digital infrastructure which is able to empower many new projects on the basis of this digital infrastructure. And these projects were not necessarily forecasted at the beginning, I think, under your control, Roberto, and this is always the story for digital and innovative projects, okay? Nothing happens as expected, usually. And I am convinced that software heritage has a key role to play in very, very important fields in our digital society. And you have mentioned the issues related to digital literacy, to digital transparency, to ethical AI, to responsible AI. Okay, I will stop. Okay, and so this means that all these key issues for our society have something to do with software, and this means that software heritage has a role to play in this field. Okay, some issues are well known now for software heritage. For instance, your ability to have an impact for open science. I guess that this is a well-established track now for software heritage, but that was not clear a few years ago that you will be able to be a key digital infrastructure for cybersecurity and also for AI, in order, for instance, to better train or to train in a more efficient way large language models on the basis of the archive. And I will briefly comment that by reversing the order. So first cybersecurity, then AI, and then open science. It's not worth describing the key issues we have with cybersecurity, and having an infrastructure like software heritage has a strong value in order to develop projects in this field. And that's why we have supported one project, one side project, so to speak, on the basis of software heritage in the framework of the so-called French National Programme for Cybersecurity, which is coordinated by Inria as the French program agency for digital science and technology, and software and a project of this national program for cybersecurity is specifically dedicated to software heritage. This is a so-called software heritage SEC project, and I guess that there is a keynote of Stefano. I know that there is a keynote of Stefano today afternoon about that. The international nature of software heritage is obvious, and I guess that this is one rationale for the agreement between UNESCO and software heritage. That's really impressive from my perspective to see that the international strategic partnerships of Inria are also opportunities to increase the impact of software heritage, especially in the field of AI, and especially for these issues related to the training of large language models. And there are many presentations today afternoon in the panels, especially in the panel regarding AI transparency and regulations, that can illustrate that. First with the presentation of Nayat Sanchez-Pi, with the director of Inria Chile, and which operates the binational French-Chilean Center for AI, which has been just launched in November 2024. And I know that your projects with software heritage are key projects for the center. And there is also, for instance, the presentation of one of our Brazilian colleagues, namely Fabio Porto, the director of LNCC, our key partner in Brazil, with topic ranging from HPC to AI. So this means that on the basis of software heritage, on the basis of international partnerships, there are many resulting projects to launch, so to speak. And then open science, which is a major component of the development of software heritage, and which has established software as a third pillar of open science, complementary to publications and to data. And these three pillars, including software, thanks to software heritage, so to speak, briefly speaking, are fully recognized in the French National Programme for Open Science, but not only at the national level, but also at the European level, as a key component of the European Open Science Cloud Project, IOSC, for which many colleagues have been involved, including Jean-François Abramatic, once more. Sorry, Jeff. So this international footprint, this international outreach of software heritage is also a strong motivation of our partnership, of the partnership between Inria and UNESCO. And this gives me the opportunity to warmly thank UNESCO, dear Tawfik, Jelassi, for your commitment, for the commitment of the organization in our partnership about software heritage. And I think that more than ever, this will address in the future important issues for the society, for the development of our societies. Software heritage is a work in progress, which has already proved its great added value, because beyond being a platform for preserving the world's heritage, it is also a platform for open science. It is also a software tool at the service of software engineering, from cybersecurity to AI. And software heritage has been nourished by the community of developers, by the community of open source developers. And I guess that software heritage will, let's say, contribute to tools that benefit to this community as a feedback, so to speak. Your project, Roberto, is a multidimensional project. It offers a lot of opportunities, so many users, as underlined by Tawfik Jelassi, and I am sure that it will be able to attract ever larger and more diverse communities, including academia, companies, and public organizations. And I want to thank all the partners of the Software Heritage Foundation. And dear Roberto, be sure that more than ever, software heritage will be, in the future, a strategic project for Inria. Thanks for your attention and have a good symposium.
Dear Director General, dear CEO, Inria CEO, Chair Tawfik, Chair Bruno, thanks a lot for these words that touch us as the key people in software heritage and all the community really in our heart. I will take just a short moment of time to give you a little bit of a recall of what software heritage actually is today. Let me see if this works. Yes. So, as it has been said, the software is everywhere around us and is a key of the digital transformation we are living. When I was a student in the university, I used to read this book by Harold Amelson, which is very well known, where he was saying in the introduction that actually programs must be written for people to read and only accessorily for machines to execute. You can imagine this as a MIT professor telling the students, if I cannot read your homework, you will have a bad grade, but actually it is much, much important than that. The point is that if you see, software is never finished, software is executed by machine, but needs to be read by other humans to understand what is going on, to improve it, to find what happens during the execution. Today we have access to an incredible amount of source code, which is available since early ages. What you see here is a short excerpt of the 60,000 line of assembly code that were embarked on the Apollo 11 landing module that actually allowed to put a man on the moon in July 1969, thanks to a woman, Margaret Hamilton, that directed the group of programmers that actually wrote this program. So you see on the left, you have the assembly code, which is not very, very readable, unless, as Tawfik, Bruno, and moi, probably you started doing assembly code before using more advanced programming language. But the part on the right are comments written in plain English to explain to the next developer, to the person, what the program is intended to do. And these comments never go to the machine, they're only for humans. You may say, okay, but these are just because that was an old programming language. No, let's fast forward a little bit. And for people that have seen this again, I changed the excerpt. Okay, so this is an excerpt from the COVID simulation program that was written a few years ago to track the progress of COVID around the world. It was written by a biologist, but you see, even by it's dangerous what I'm saying. Even biologists are not necessarily good programmers. I mean, they have good habits, and you see a lot of comments in the program here that are intended again for humans to understand what we want the computer to do. So as was said by Len Schuster, who was a former director of the Computer History Museum, in a beautiful article he wrote in 2006, I mean, source code is important for us because it provides a view in the mind of the programmer. So software source code is super important for us. But software source code is not just developed in one country. It comes from all over the world. Actually, these two pictures, which are taken by a beautiful article written by Stefan with some colleagues a couple of years ago, if I remember well, shows how we see through software heritage the evolution of the contribution of each different area of the world over time. So you see here, in basically 70 years, you see how the contribution by Europe, by the US, by other countries, etc., evolve over time. You see how now this is very, very spread around. So you have Europe, you have the US, but you have Asia, you have Latin America, you have different countries. Well, of course, this is only the view of what we can see. I mean, we cannot see private or proprietary software, but it's pretty impressive. And not only this comes from all over the world, but it is written in many different programming languages. So this is the view through the software heritage mirror, I mean, or looking glass, of what happened in the evolution of use of programming language over the last 50 years. This is a paper will be presented at Mining Software Repository soon in a couple of months in Ottawa, and the work done with Adèle Desmazières and Valentin Lawrence, who Valentin is here, Adèle is studying because she was an intern with us this summer. And not only this, but also it grows at an exponential rate. Again, through what we see in software age, we see that the amount of original code that appears around the world doubles every 2 years. This is a huge change. You see, this is actually over 20 years. I'm sure after COVID, everybody is familiar with linear logarithmic scales, right? When you see a straight line that is growing exponentially, pretty stably over the past 20 years. It's a big challenge, and we need to actually preserve it. Why? Because software is precious technical and scientific knowledge. And as was written by Yuval Noah Harari, I mean, the real antidote to epidemic is scientific knowledge and global cooperation. And we have seen the software today is all over the place in modern research areas. This is an excerpt from the French Monitor on Open Science that has since 3 years a specific section dedicated to research software. And here you see that all disciplines use actually research software, not just computer science, not just engineering. And let's see. And more than that, not only this is very important to preserve because it's part of technical and scientific knowledge, but also because we can still talk to the early inventors, which is a privilege we have in our field, which is not given to people working in philosophy, mathematics, physics, etc., because the founding father and founding mothers have passed over. While we can still talk to people, as Donald Clute, who is one of these founding fathers, says, it's important to tell the stories around software. But as both Tawfik, Jelassi and Bruno Sportisse mentioned, it is not just about the stories. I mean, let's see if this works. It is also about security, but there's transparency, reusability. You see on the left, the picture that you see is what happens when you use a small command in a program. It brings in tons of different dependencies that come from so many different origins. And this means that actually the software that you use depends on many components on which you have no control. And this has been seen very recently with all the crises in security that you have seen with Log4Shell, OpenSSL, bugs, etc., the supply chain attacks, which are all over the place. And so we need to better know the software that we use. And if you want to better know the software that you use, as it is now mandated. I mean, in the US, you have this executive order by the President of the United States in May 2021 that say we need to ensure the integrity of the open source software supply chain, and the Cyber Resilience Act that has been just voted a few months ago at Europe, that says that we must no longer see software products with vulnerabilities put on the market. This means we need a global infrastructure, trust and knowledge base to check software integrity and know about its provenance. So when you see all these challenges, you need also to remember that software source code is fragile. It can go away. So in the past years, we have seen platforms disappearing, hundreds of thousands, millions of projects unplugged from the internet for business decisions that I will not discuss. I mean, they just disappeared. And so we need also to preserve this knowledge, because otherwise we have holes in the web of knowledge of humankind, and we cannot allow this. But if you want to go there, we need a universal archive for all software source code. And this is where Software Edge comes in. It was, as was recalled, unveiled in 2016, started before that with the precise mission of collecting all publicly available source code worldwide, making sure it is not lost, and make it available. Not just because it's interesting and important, like the Apollo 11 source code, but because it is important to have a tool to observe what happens, even the code that you wrote yesterday. So you want a catalog, you want an archive, and you want a very large telescope to explore the galaxy of software development worldwide. So, very briefly, SoftwareEdge is designed with a shared universal infrastructure, one infrastructure replicated through mirrors, open and shared. It is today the largest archive ever built. You have the picture here, the number that Mr. Jelassi already mentioned. And this software comes from thousands of different platforms worldwide. Here we show just the most prominent one. This is actually, as Bruno mentioned, is much more than what we expected when we started. We wanted just to preserve software that goes going away, and we ended up building a revolution infrastructure. Why a revolution infrastructure? Because it is not any archive, but it's actually a graph of all the public available software source code. It is actually the last extraction. If Valentin validates my number, it is 50 billion nodes and 750 billion edges, making it probably the biggest publicly available social graph today. It is not just a graph, but it is a cryptographic graph, so it's basically half of a blockchain. It is also a pillar for open science. We can use it to establish scientific research on the rock and not on the sand. And then last but not least, it is a reference platform for big code analysis, because we do all this work of collecting data from outside and put it in uniform data structure. We hear more about this later today. And all this was designed, of course, not as a company, but as a non-profit, long-term initiative where the partnership with UNESCO is so crucial for us because it provides us a view on the needs of the country worldwide and allows us to leverage your incredible convening power to actually bring to the attention of the world the importance of software as a key part of our modern societies. And of course, we could not do all this without the support of our members and fortunately, first and foremost, Inria, that had a vision when this was just a 10-page position paper to say, yes, we will bet on what we are doing. And then the continued support of Inria through different leadership, and lately Bruno Sportisse, who was really strongly supporting what we are doing. And of course, the number of different sponsors that are emerging, and we are very happy to see today much more sponsors that are going up. So CA has been our first Diamond sponsor, but we are very happy to welcome IBM, and very happy to see Microsoft going up and other Platinum sponsors going on board. I do not want to take too much time, so let me go to the conclusion if the clicker works. Let's see. Key points that we want to highlight for 2024. In January 24, it was started a software project to connect publication and research software. You will hear more during the presentation today. February 2024 was our first AI contact. So when the StarCoder 2 model was built on a selection of software heritage project coming from GitHub. Then we had, in February 2024, the kickoff of the SoftwareEdge security project that Bruno mentioned. We have many achievements of the academic interoperability that come from the IOSC-related project, where Moran was quite a lot involved. And then we had very recently the launch of the Code Commons project, which is funded by the French government to improve and expand the SoftwareEdge in such a way that it can be better used for AI, and you'll hear more later on. If you want to know more, the annual report, you have a copy in your bag, is available here. You have a QR code, you can get a PDF version of it. That being said, this is a big effort. It is not just me and Stefano, it's not just me and the team. It is a larger community. You have ambassadors, we have the community met here. But I would like to take a little moment for all of you to do something. You know, this would never have been possible without all the incredible people that accepted and decided to come along in this adventure, giving up positions sometimes in industry that are much better paid because they believe in this mission. This is all the team of SoftwareEdge. So I would like to ask all the members of the team to stand up for a moment. Show yourself. Valentin, don't be shy. Okay, stand up. And the other. So thank you very much for, I know some of these people don't even sleep at night. I know this is just time to make the preparation for today. And now it's time to start the workshop, if the clicker works, let's see. Opening the symposium, of course, this year we have selected, cybersecurity regulation, AI transparency regulation, open science and memory of the world. And it is time for me to step down. Thanks again a lot, Mr. Jelassi, Mr. Sportisse, Cher Bruno, Cher Tawfik, for your super important support of the work we are doing. And we leave the floor to the first panel. Thank you.